The OpenAI AMD deal is really concerning. We were already concerned about the Nvidia deal that OpenAI struck. Now we are really concerned. So there's no question that the AI infrastructure boom is not sustainable at this point. Something has to give, because this deal almost handwrites the absurdity of the situation where OpenAI buys chips from AMD, the stock goes up, and then OpenAI has warrants that they can sell and generate cash. This is not okay. Now, there's certainly a scenario where this all works out, which is if OpenAI can actually have a profitable business, a large profitable business, if they become a sort of a Google of AI or something, where they're near monopolist and they have very high margins and everybody's using them and they get better with more people using them. That's not out of question. They are a leader right now. The problem that we see here is that there's a lot of competition and that the economics of generative AI and in general, let's call it AGI, or this very high level of intelligence that we are going to achieve in the next few years. That's not even a question. But the question that we see coming up all the time is, like, where are the applications and who is going to make money here? What do we mean with that? Well, like, we have applications. I mean, people are using ChatGPT, they're using Claude, they're using Grok, everybody's using these things. And there's certain things that are better for certain problems, like software, other chat interfaces like ChatGPT, artist stuff like Grok Imagine. Like, there's a lot of things you can do, but the fundamental question here, in our opinion, is that the margins are going to be squeezed, and it's a race to who gets the largest compute and the most data, and is also smart with the data, of course, and trains these things at scale. That's the key. There is potentially a room for a few players that actually dominate this market, like any other large market that turns into an oligopoly. What we think right now, the actual biggest skill in AI is the one that nobody talks about, which is the scaling of AI infrastructure. And this is not the first time that we saw that. We see that in, I don't know, CRISPR. We saw it in, algae turning into oil. We see it in the space industry with SpaceX. We see it with Tesla and electric cars. It's very, not easy, but it's pretty low bar to build a prototype and even produce a couple of 10,000 models. It is very difficult to produce millions of models. It's very difficult to produce CRISPR-type technology at scale. It's very difficult to build Raptor engines that can actually bring Starship to orbit. And the same way, it's one thing to put a couple of GPUs together. People in academia always complain, oh, we only have a few GPUs. How about I give you 1 million GPUs? Would you even know what to do with it? How do you connect these things? How do you power them? How do you make sure the voltage is stable? How does that work? Like, that is a skill in itself that I haven't actually heard anybody talk about this, other than, of course, Elon Musk and X, and that's what they did with Colossus. People don't talk about this enough, but when Musk built Colossus, the 200 megawatt Colossus, the Colossus one in Memphis, they did contract Oracle, and they walked away from that deal because Oracle just couldn't do it. Their specs were totally insufficient. So Musk took over. I think he put it on X. We need to control our own destiny and all that. And I think that skill in itself is going to determine the winner. So very similar to FSD and the self-driving technology and robotaxi technology, the actual winners are not the AI players. It's the guys who bend metal and connect cables and put machines next to each other and power them and make sure they work properly. So in other words, it's actually not the fancy algorithmic, mathematical, computer science type problems and solving those problems that will generate the wealth and the scale. It is the exact opposite. It's the welding, the bending of metals, the actual machines, the building, the large scale build out of training clusters is a skill in itself, and that's going to determine the winners in this race. And now back to the AMD Open AI deal. I think what's concerning here is not just the deal structure, but the lack of information. And also, nobody's talking about, look, we're going to actually tackle this problem, because what they're doing, let's say what OpenAI is doing with Crusoe, for example, is outsourcing all this to Crusoe, which is fine. I mean, Crusoe or Nebius, Iron, CoreWeave, these are interesting companies. I don't want to badmouth them. They have a raison d'être. They started with Bitcoin mining, and now they're doing this. So they certainly have an understanding of how to build clusters, but I don't think they understand what it takes to build a model like Grok 4 and Grok X and ChatGPT X, because that's a different problem. So that skill, at this point, we believe XAI is the only one that has proven that they can scale to 200 megawatt. Whether they can scale to 1 gigawatt, we will see. We don't think that even Nvidia doesn't have that scale. That's a different type of know-how. Now, Nvidia is certainly executing against that strategy, and they have a deal with OpenAI, so they're going to make sure that they can help them get there. And there's a chance that eventually they will succeed. I don't think AMD has the kind of skill. It's not that kind of company that can solve this type of problem. So anyway, the conclusion is the following. On the one hand, this is very concerning from this is a bubble type of perspective, but more importantly, what's mainly concerning is that nobody's talking about the real skill that is necessary to build a massive AI infrastructure, which is to build the machine that trains the machine. So what FSD is built the machine that builds the machine, and here it's built the machine that trains the machine. In both cases, it's about scaling, and that is not being addressed enough by the AI community. The only one that is talking about is, of course, Elon Musk, who has experience in other areas, and we believe that he also has a good chance to come out on top of this game. Thank you.